like it. Just keep going. I got a lighter up.
Yeah,
ready to go.
Stop. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. It's been a while.
Hi, I'm not Megan.
Yeah, and this Megan did not get a voice box removal into a deeper voice. The voice you hear on the other end right now is that of Matthew Dishner. Matt is with us today. He traveled all the way down from Pennsylvania to be with us.
Hey now.
Matt, I would say, would be our number one fan. You listen to all the podcasts, and I went and tried to find the number one fan and flew that person down there. You want a trip down here?
I appreciate it. That's what I was looking for.
No, Matt is actually, I've brought him up a couple times on the podcast. He's also known as Dishner. That's his last name. So if you want to Google him, go for it, and you can probably find him on Facebook too.
Yeah, I'm out there.
So, no, but Matt's actually in town. Megan is out this week. She, I think this week she's actually going somewhere with her Nana, with her grandmother. But Matt was in town and said, "Hey, I want to step in, and I can do a better job than her. So you're gonna give it a shot."
I don't know about doing a better job, but I'm usually the first one to click on the podcast, so now I'm officially on the podcast.
So does that mean that you're going to listen to it after we get done?
I think so.
Okay, cool.
As long as I get the number one spot, I'm good to go.
Matt is down here, as I said, from Pennsylvania. You're here for about 4 or 5 days.
Right.
And you got in late last night.
It wasn't that late.
It was 11 o'clock p.m.
Well, for normal adults, 11 o'clock's not that late.
I like to be in bed early.
Jake had to drink 2 cups of Lucy's Brew.
I did. We drank 2 cups of Lucy's Brew. Before we get into all that, before we get into how I met you, who the hell you are, everything like that, we do have our winner that we have to announce for our Vitamix.
All right.
We're going to announce that in the middle of the show. And then we will also announce who's going to win this week's awesome prize. Matt, tell us what they will win, but we're not going to tell you how to do it yet, and we're not going to tell you how, when it's going to happen. But what are they going to win?
This week's prize is an interesting one from the things you've given away before. This week's prize is a Squatty Potty.
Yes.
And for those out there that listen to Howard Stern, they're a major
probably
sponsor.
2 of them.
Yeah, there's probably not that many. I'm definitely one of them, but Squatty Potty is a major sponsor of Howard Stern. Squatty Potty is a stool that you put on.
Pun intended.
Yeah, you put, very much pun intended, that you put under your feet that kind of relaxes you.
Yeah.
And puts you in a better position. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, I have one. I absolutely love it. We'll get into the gory details of it. But yeah, keep listening. I think I'm going to give away 3. We'll give away 3.
Sounds good.
Maybe more, maybe less. No, definitely not less. I don't think I can technically legally say maybe less, but we're definitely giving away 3.
Okay,
and
that's perfect.
We'll tell you how you can do it.
We'll see how it goes.
Awesome. So Matt Dishner is probably my. I hate to say this in front of his face, but probably my best friend in the world. Matt, I've known since freshman year of college.
If you want to get really technical, probably May of 2001 or June.
I knew of you. We didn't actually formally meet until the summer of that.
And that's a funny story too, because before we actually met, we didn't like each other.
Yeah. Very long story short. We were both recruited by a college soccer program to play. And we didn't even play the same position, but the coaches kind of kept telling me there's this awesome guy from Roanoke, Virginia that's going to be on the team, and I should really train extra hard. And on the flip side,
yeah, he's telling me the same thing. There's this kid from Newport News. He's a defender. He's really tough. He's going to challenge you. So I'm pitted up against him, and this is
that's when I had hair.
You did have hair, long, beautiful, blonde, flowing hair.
Yeah.
But this was 2001, have you? So there was no Facebook. There was nothing but like news articles and minor things on the internet to really stalk someone with.
Yeah. So Matt and I, and we'll get into even more of the story here in a little bit. But Matt and I have known each other for now. You said 2001, so that's 14 years.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
to think
14
about.
years. So 14 years ago, we started playing soccer together. But Matt came in last night at 11 p.m.
Right.
Very late. I was I never watch TV, so I actually had to watch 3 episodes. I watched Tosh.0.
And I made him stay up
for 3 episodes.
For a drink afterwards because I was trying to wind down.
Yep. After I picked you up, we came back here and I played a little ukulele for you, serenaded you, and just had 2 beers. And it was funny. I remember looking at you and saying, "This is crazy. I'm having my first beer at midnight," which you could say either happened in college or it didn't happen in college. Usually, it probably did not happen.
No,
in
we definitely had beers at midnight, but I don't think there was ever a chance it was your first.
Yeah, very rarely was our first. Actually, I digress. after soccer games.
Yeah.
When we would get back late
From a bus trip.
From a bus trip. I mean, that was always the coolest time. You get back in from a bus trip, it would be like 2:00 in the morning, and you either had a good game or a bad game or whatever, and you just weren't ready to go to bed. And so, you'd have a beer, or a case waiting for you when you get back, and you could go to bed and the sun came up. So,
yeah, there was plenty of times that we were going to bed as we were watching people walk into classes for the first time.
But this podcast is not about just old drinking games and old drinking habits, which we can get into.
Although we do have a pretty interesting question.
We do have a question that we're going to answer later that actually has to do with drinking and the health of it as well. So, Matt and I, grew up through, not grew up, but hung out through college, became friends through college, stayed in touch after college as I moved down to Florida.
I think you were right, grew up together.
Yeah, you could say that.
Just so happened it was 18 on.
Well, I talk to people about this a lot, and the ages, like obviously from 0 to 16, 17 or impressionable, but I forget, I was just talking to somebody, the ages of like 18 to 22, like those when you do have to go to college, or if you don't go to college you do something else, but those kind of like 4 years are they're really impressionable. Like when I'm like running or I'm doing something, like a lot of thoughts go back and migrate towards that time, because I think it's for us that we were very fortunate to go to college, that it was kind of like that freedom that went with college, not so much like the studies. And all jokes aside, we did both graduate on time, but it's more so of kind of like the social experiment that was college. I mean, I just remember of literally the first thing that I just remember seeing was like, oh my God, everybody smokes when they want to.
Right, walking around campus, like right in front of their,
yeah, and these are kids that were just in high school, the year before, and I even did the same thing. I was like, I don't have to answer my parents. If I want to have a cigarette at 10 o'clock, I can, right?
You do whatever you want.
And so I, that was kind of like the first thing I was like, oh, I'm going to smoke a little bit because I can. And that didn't last long into my life. You, on the other hand, you had a bad habit too, which was
smokeless tobacco.
Smokeless tobacco or
dipping. Yeah.
And so how long did you do that for?
Well, see, I dipped in high school.
It's disgusting, by the way.
Yeah, much to the chagrin of my parents. I definitely got in trouble multiple times for it. I was grounded multiple times. It actually is one of the few things that my parents still bring up, that they were really disappointed.
Oh,
and
wow.
That's the worst word that your parents say. It's like, I was disappointed.
What was it about the dip that like kept you coming back?
I tried it for the very first time when I was a 9th grader.
Were you hooked immediately?
I was the only freshman on the varsity team, and there were some senior guys that were doing it. So I kind of felt if I could do this, is one step in the bonding ritual of males when it comes to athletics. So I tried it. I got sick the first time, much like I've watched many people do, and I used to laugh when I would try to get people to do it.
Yep.
And then afterwards, it became something that I thought was cool to do, and then it grew into I think I want one, and then
when did that
I
happen?
might need one.
When did that happen? From the first time you tried it, and then just kind of doing it because everybody else is doing it, to the fact of like, oh, I'm by myself now. Well, I'm not around people. Let me throw one in because I
think maybe my junior year summer.
Yeah.
I worked landscaping and construction, so I'm with adults. They're smoking cigarettes. They're chewing stuff like that. I had freedom to do whatever I want.
Did you, in your mind, did you feel that the dipping was healthier or less bad than smoking?
No, I don't even think I ever took it into consideration. I knew it wasn't good for you.
Yeah.
My other best friend, Brian, who you know very well as well, his grandfather had mouth cancer.
And it didn't scare you away?
So, I fully was very aware of it.
Yeah.
He lived a mile away from me. I watched the whole transmission of it.
My grandfather actually had lung cancer too, and I continued to smoke because you're young. He's in his 70s. You're thinking, I could get through this now. But
I think it's one of those things that you do because you're young and you don't think about further consequences, and or you're doing it because you're young and I'll stop later on.
When did you have your first cigarette?
I think I had a cigarette for the first time maybe in high school, but I was never a smoker. I never really liked to smoke.
I'm gonna throw the BS flag on that one. I'm gonna throw the bullshit flag on that one.
I'd have one, at a bar late night, but like a sober.
We did
10 o'clock
in
the morning.
Not at 10 o'clock in the morning, but we did. Because funny enough, this is funny. In our freshman year, you actually could smoke in the dorms.
You could,
which is crazy.
And our third roommate did quite frequently.
Yeah, quite frequently. My first one was, well, funny enough. Here's a really funny story.
So mine was in high school, but I don't think I ever did it right.
Did you feel anything from it?
No.
So
it was definitely like bring it into your mouth and shoot it out just to look cool. My
very first puff actually happened when I was 5 years old. So as I mentioned, my grandfather was a heavy chain smoker, and he would smoke in the house. And I remember coming down the stairs, and this is back in Pennsylvania, and coming down the stairs, and he'd be sitting there drinking his coffee, reading the paper, and having a cigarette. It was like the typical old man thing. You look back in movies, and you're like, it's kind of cool. It's so terrible for you, but it's like he's just sitting there, and he had a maroon cardigan, or it's either maroon or he had a maroon one and a navy blue one, and they had cigarette holes in there. And so,
but this is back when men were men. I mean, he was a veteran, correct?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean this is when men were men. Salty old Pittsburgh steel.
Yeah,
men.
he was a steel worker, and literally across the street was the steel mill, and that's where we grew up. And so, I just remember coming down. He's just having your cigarette. It's very kind of old school type of stuff, right? I mean, that's back when they had Marlboro Man, magazine stuff. And so I remember coming down, and I always used to pretend when he'd put it in the ashtray, because that's where you held your cigarette. You had to put it down. And so I always remember going up there just jokingly take a drag. And I would never take a drag, but just jokingly grab it. And so one time when I was 5, I came downstairs. I just woke up or something, and I jokingly kind of picked it up, and he goes, "Do it." And I looked at him. I knew what he was doing. He didn't want me to smoke, but he's like, "Go ahead, smoke it." And so I was like, it was my first dare in life. I remember I was like, "Oh my God, I'm getting dared by my grandfather."
But yeah, that's kind of funny too, because there's no way that now that your father's a grandfather, if this happened to your child, he would have smacked it. What are you doing? What are you doing?
Oh, I would have, and if I would have found out about this, it would have been the end. So I pick it up, and I literally take a big old deep draw within. I don't because I've seen him do it, and at that time my parents smoked, everybody smoked, so I just went, and I just remember coughing and just literally, and then I started crying, and then he was kind of laughing and everything, and then made sure I was okay, and then I was like, at that point, I'm never smoking again.
And did he say something stoic, that'll teach you a lesson?
No, I never said anything like that. I think it was just kind of just the belly laugh of kind of just that type of thing. I never smoked. I was like, I'm never smoking again. Until I went to high school. And so when I was on the soccer team in high school, I remember Chris Lockard. We went to school with him.
Oh, right. Yeah.
He was the one I had my real first cigarette with.
Not surprising
We
whatsoever.
were on the way to a girls' soccer game, and he was smoking. It just looked so cool. And I think we were talking about this last week. I literally remember lighting up, taking that first drag, not crying and coughing, because that was even going through my mind. I was like, you can't cry and cough right now because you're hanging out with a senior in high school. You can't do that. So I did, and I remember kind of getting lightheaded and that warmth coming over your body, and at that point, I was like, this is awesome.
See, that's the difference in where we grew up too. You grew up at the beach, and I grew up in kind of the farm mountains side of Virginia.
So what do you mean by different?
So mine was smokeless tobacco.
Oh yeah.
And yours were cigarettes.
And it could be like this for anybody else, and where people grew up, if they didn't grow up around cigarette, that couldn't happen. So
right.
So that's when I started kind of smoking, and then I just I think that was probably sophomore, junior year, and it wasn't I'd wake up and have one, right? But as we kind of progress through college, and you kind of as we're going about doing our different daily, extracurricular activities, and for me, it got more. I smoked a lot. Well, I probably smoked maybe
Well, I wonder if this was the same for people that weren't on the East Coast. I mean, the East Coast is so tobacco friendly. The Carolinas, Virginia. I mean, Richmond is one of the tobacco kings.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Virginia is known for having all the tobacco farms and everything. Right. But again, Pennsylvania, my parent, all of them smoked, and it was because it was true blue collar. The lower class of just the lower working class of they're just they just want to take a break and have a drag, and then it wasn't until I would say after I graduated that I had stopped, because as I kind of, and I've talked about this on podcasts, how I lost 50 pounds or whatever it was, as I was starting to get healthier, it was kind of what's the point of having a cigarette anymore? And I remember when I'd go out and have drinks in college, and this is when I could tell I was definitely addicted, and I think you probably get this too, was when you go out to have drinks, whether it was in college or whether it was still smoking, I always used to think I need to have a cigarette tonight, when I'm drinking. It's not going to be a real full night if I'm not going to have a cigarette with it.
But in no means you were never a smoker. So that cigarette helped take you to the next level.
Well, what do you mean? Because that could be argued that I was. Because for a non-smoker, I was definitely a smoker.
Well, that's correct.
It's not that I would we have a friend who would literally wake up, excellent soccer player, would literally wake up and just smoke a cigarette.
Correct. He in my mind was
an
a smoker.
Anomaly. Yes, he a complete anomaly.
Without a doubt.
All-American soccer player that would just smoke all day.
Who literally smoked a cigarette one time and then ran an 11-minute 2-mile.
It was unbelievable. So, as we progressed through college, getting out of college, I decided, to stop. And obviously you feel so much better and, your clothes don't stink. I remember just being at home, just always kind of smelling a sweater or something. We're oh my God, this smells terrible.
Well, it's impossible to smoke and drink now. I mean, if you really think about it.
How?
Well, when we were in college, all bars were smoking. I know at least in Pennsylvania.
Well, here's the deal. In
the
Pennsylvania, because you're inside, down
Right.
here in Florida, everything's outside. So you can still do that.
You can in Pennsylvania outside, but I'm talking inside of a bar. You have to walk outside. You have to take yourself away from crowds.
Yeah.
Out of your group of friends. Leave a conversation. It's not as easy access as it used to be.
What was your cigarette of choice? You still smoke? You said?
No, I still like to smoke a cigar.
Oh, I see. Like I said, I've talked about this too. I'm really bad at smoking weed. I'm really bad at cigars. I don't get it. I don't, it's still bad. It's not good for you.
No, in no means. But I enjoy a cigar a lot. No, not a lot. I don't smoke them a lot. But
don't you wake up
It depends. It depends on the cigar.
Ugh, I'm really bad about it. I'm just terrible. I when I first moved down here, I was just quitting smoking cigarettes, and then we were hanging out with some people who like to smoke cigars. Our friend Matt that we were hanging out with, and he always just want to go and get some wine or some whiskey. And I hate whiskey too. I'm a terrible man, I guess. And so I would literally just try and muscle down whiskey. And I remember smoking cigars, and I was I just hate this. This is terrible. Just not good. Cigars never did it for me. I understand cigarettes, but
right.
Now, when you're smoking a cigar, will you inhale?
I'll take a puff or two in.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, I don't.
You don't smoke,
I don't sit down with a Cohiba and inhale for a solid hour. I don't think I could have just did that 4-mile run that we just did.
Well, it's funny because we're going to get into that. So when we woke up, Matt got in last night at 11 o'clock, and we didn't go to bed till 12:30. Crazy. Up at 6 o'clock this morning. And so we do the kind of whole dad thing, which we'll get into here in a second. I did, because you're here without kids this trip, so this is bachelor weekend for you.
I am, but it was fun. It was fun to...
Yeah, so we just kind of played with Noah and my wife and had some coffee, and then we dropped Noah off at school.
Daddy daycare.
And then we went to the beach to go for what turned out to be a 4-mile run.
It did.
And were you expecting to go 4 miles?
I think when my phone said we were at 2 miles, we both kind of looked at each other oh, how did that just happen?
Yeah.
We should probably turn around now.
Yeah.
We got to get back to the car.
But it's cool just the way you run, because that 2 mile stops at that one beach access. You can kind of look out, catch a stretch, etc. And so it's funny, as we were running back, as we were wrapping it up, there was a cigarette, a full cigarette that was not lit. So I picked it up jokingly as we were running and gave it to Matt. And I played these games all the time. And I was like, how much, if I would pay you $500 right now, would you smoke this? And I think you actually said maybe, because at $500.
Yeah, $500 I could have. I could have done that.
But I remember doing the same thing in college. You're going for runs, and and it's, when you get home, I can have a cigarette, and it was just I can't do that anymore.
The difference, for me, the run down here, the humidity.
Yeah, it's a good.
I'd love to take you back home right now. To Pennsylvania into some hills and 40-degree weather at 6 o'clock in the morning
so when I was in Virginia,
put you on an equal level.
2 weeks ago, it was cold for me. So at nights it got down to I think high 30s, and in the mornings it was 50s. Now again, here's the deal of as I like to call it, the North. With the high that day was 75. As I always say it, the high actually happens at 3 o'clock or 2 o'clock at 75, and then it's 50 to 60 out of just nowhere, hits 75 at 2 o'clock, and then just drops down immediately after
in
that.
A 2 square mile region,
right? And so we went for a run. It was cold. There's hills. You're just constantly just gasping for breath as you're running. And so down here, you're hitting the humidity, which probably is giving you some.
Yeah, I felt fine on the way out, but mile 3, with the sun beating in my face and.
Yeah,
I haven't felt 84 degrees in a long time either. So sun beating my face, humidity in my lungs. But it brought us to a good topic of when you're on that last mile or that last rep or whatever, whatever your thought is on working out.
That last chicken wing in an eating contest. What are you going to do?
Your last beer. What gets you through? We talked about a couple things. Do you think back to your past? Do you think to a goal that you're trying to achieve in the future? I know one thing you said was, I don't know if it helps you out, but the red light's right there.
Yeah,
that never helps me out though.
I was gonna
because
it
gets further away as you run closer to it.
It's funny because I thought about it and I didn't know how it was. So I'm glad you brought this up. So I asked about the red light, and so did that hurt you?
No, it didn't hinder me because I run the same route all the time.
Yeah.
So I know locations.
Yeah.
So I know if I pass my buddy Rob's house, I have 0.6 of a mile to go.
Right.
It doesn't help me.
It doesn't help. It doesn't help you to see the end.
No.
Okay.
Because when you see the end, sometimes if you're in your own head, that finish line gets further and further away instead of coming closer to you.
I get that. So I also did this jokingly. Was kind of like, come on, Matt, you could do it. Kind of like, and I was jokingly being like that aggressive, motivational type of person.
Right.
Does that help you at all?
I've never had. So growing up playing soccer, of course, running was the key training tool. So I never had trouble making it into the finish line. And we talked about what motivates you. I kind of just get in my head, this is what we're going to do, and we're going to get it done.
Right.
And I let my mind go clear. I don't think about it, and I speed it up.
That's good.
And, I kind of talked to you 3.5 miles. I was like, you just want to shut her down and walk it in, and you're like, no way.
I didn't want to do it.
Then I started pulling away there.
You did, because I was just kind of like looking around jogging. I was like, oh, look at you! You're starting to turn on the jets.
Right, and I stopped talking to you.
You did.
And I look. I mean,
well, it's funny because
it's a prim and proper thing. Like I feel like I straighten up in my run.
You do. You prance a bit.
And I look forward. I don't look down. I keep my head straight. And I just charge forward.
Well, that's good. I'm glad we brought this up because I tried a couple things. I tried that aggressive, motivation thing because you told me at about 3 miles or so. You're like, I'm gonna shut this down at about 3.5, and I was like, yeah, it's like we can do this.
Right.
And so then I tried a couple of different things. I tried the motivational thing, but jokingly, and then was asking you about things. And then I don't know if you caught this. I went into a story about something for work, about how I was having this one problem, what I was going to do for work, with different things. And I just brought that up just kind of to see if that would, because I wanted you to make the 4 miles.
Right.
And I was thinking if I could, instead of, because you stopped talking probably about at the 2.5 mile mark.
No, we talked all the way through.
Yeah, it was starting to kind of go down from
yeah.
there. And at that, when we hit 3, you got quiet. And then I was like, well, maybe maybe he just doesn't want to talk, but maybe if I tell him a story, he'll kind of just take his mind away from it.
So you were trying to initiate conversation so we could.
Well, I didn't want, but I was trying to just to talk and not have you talk, because when you talk and run, it takes up a little more air. So what I was trying to do was just me to tell the story,
to listen,
to get you through. Which that's obviously not what works for you. What works for you is exactly what you said.
Yeah, which is funny, but that is the exact thing that works for my wife. My wife runs Monday, Wednesday, Fridays with 4 other ladies. And
I'm sure that's not quiet.
It's not. It's not quiet whatsoever. They talk the whole time. And they run 3 to 4 miles every morning at a good pace, at a pretty good little clip, like 8:40 to 9-minute miles. But they talk the whole time. So my wife and I went and ran on a Saturday. And I usually just put on headphones, listen to music by myself, clear my head, and I'm away I go. She's like, so? I'm like, so what? She's like, well, let's talk. Talk to me. Like, what do we got? Okay, what's the Target grocery and the Wegmans list look like? I don't know what to say. She's like, well, we talk the whole time. So that's definitely people's motivation, is being able to talk, not think about what they're doing, and just get through things.
Yeah. No, it's different for everybody. And I was thinking about this when we were going for the run. I was asking you if the motivational worked. There's a lot of people that actually negative reinforcement works for. I played high school basketball and high school football in a pretty rough part of town. And so all the coaching tactics were very negative reinforcement, yelling, screaming, and I shut down when that happens. I don't want to play well for you. I don't want to give my best if you're yelling at me and saying that, screaming at me and stuff like that. I literally had coaches who would literally pick up basketball players, not even football players, so no pads. Like pick them up, throw them up against the locker. I had coaches that would literally pick up the trash can, throw it like at halftime, throw it across like the the locker room, and everybody's just being scared. And that worked for some of those dudes. Like as soon as that happened, like I shut down. I don't want anything to do with that. But some of the guys, some of my buddies in there, that really just brought them up to another level. Then we went to go play college soccer. Our first coach at the time was all about positive reinforcement. It was good. He was hard when he had to be, right? But it was really kind of just positive. And I'm not saying I want to be coddled, right? I don't want to say, Jake, you're the best. You can get there. But, let's be positive about it. 2 years into that, we get a negative-based coach.
Correct.
For negative reinforcement, and we all shut down.
Yeah, we all shut down.
And we just not what not.
Well, we went from winning a league championship, and 2 years later, winning 2 or 3 games. I don't remember.
I don't remember it. I kind of shut that part off of my brain.
But let's look at our first coach's coaching career now. I mean, I think he's 20 years in at that school.
Right.
He's won division championships in Division 2 and Division 1.
Yep.
He's
and that coach that was there with us was there for maybe like 2 years, 2 or 3 years.
It
didn't work. So
he lost like 90% of his games.
Right. And
he couldn't get on the same level as players.
Yeah, exactly. And so I tend to you can't use that, and I bring it back to like with my work. You can't be like in my position and do negative reinforcement. It just doesn't work in the workplace.
No.
You definitely almost have to coddle people, but you got to kind of really kind of, and I'm not saying coddle, but you definitely like the positive, like, guys, we're going to get this done. And it's similar to how you were coming to at that last mile. We're just kind of like getting that mindset, and I do too. And it's what people also talk is the runner's high, which is, and it's very meditative actually, because when you're running, when you first start out, for me, when I first start running, it's kind of like, I got 3 more miles left, and it's like this, and you're kind of like have a lot of stuff going through your head. But when you kind of hit that stride, so maybe it's like the end of the 3rd mile or going in, I'm just using our mile or 4 mile today, and you kind of go into that zone where you're literally, all you're doing is you're focused on the end of that thing, and you're turning it up. And I've gotten into that zone where everything is moving in the body, and it's like, it's not that it's all on autopilot, but I can feel, because I know that I've said it, that I want everything to work harder, and so everything's just like gradually working harder, and it's just like I have my mindset on there, and then like the pain goes away, the struggling for the breath goes away, and you're just focused. Now,
you turn off the mechanism.
Right. You can't run. For me, you can't run like your full run like that, right? Some people can't. Some people can get in that zone but can kind of like stretch that 4 miles out that way. And I'm hoping that I can get to that point. But like right now, I can't kind of like set it at 1 and go and just kind of like and be there and turn off that mechanism for 4 miles. It usually happens at that like last mile.
But you talk about the meditative state. I think that is key in sports, in particular.
Yeah.
If you're a let's just say a college quarterback, you were the best at your high school. You played in front of, let's say, 2,000 people if you had good attendance at a high school football game. And now you're starting at Virginia Tech. 66,000 people, Lane Stadium.
Matt's a big football fan, by the way.
Enter Sandman plays, and there you are.
Right.
66,000 people looking at you for what you do. You can't think about that. You have to turn that off.
Yep.
But it's the same thing as being a good boss in a workplace. You can't think about all the extras that are around you. You have to just kind of concentrate on one thing.
I even bring it to like the most active thing and the sport thing that I'm doing now is surfing. So surfing, when I go out there and surf, and I told the story, I think a couple podcasts ago, there's dangers out there, right? There's big fish that are out there. And if you're out there constantly thinking of, is there a shark there? Is there a shark there? Oh my God, is this, that? You're going to have the worst session. It's not going to be fun. But it does go through, surfers' mind when you're out there, because you're in a big body of water and you're so small. And when it goes through your mind, like what I do when that happens, I'll either like splash some water and just kind of, not so much get it out of my head, but just kind of splash some water, just kind of realize, bring it back to the present moment. Here I am. And then the best thing to always fix that from a surfing perspective is to catch a wave, because you're immediately going to that flow state. As soon as you catch it and you're going down the line, it's like when all thoughts are gone and you're just doing what your body naturally does on that wave.
And what's your little mantra that I kind of messed with you about? You got to get out of your own way.
Yeah, that is.
But that's true. I mean, if you want to sum up everything we just talked about, get out of your own way, get out of your own head.
Yeah, and especially at that last leg. And so essentially, I'm glad you brought that up. Of that last leg, that's what you did. Because I remember just looking over and I just saw the Dishner. of college. Well, we all have a little bit more pounds than we did on college, but you kind of like your body started to come up, started to kind of just get into that last gear, and so that's how you get to the end of the race. Very cool. So now we're actually gonna get into the Vitamix winner from our last podcast. We're gonna be sending a free Vitamix to. Her name is Kathy Wellwood. Kathy, you get a free Vitamix. We're going to send it to you. We're going to send it to you, and that should be on its way in the next, give us 3 to 4 weeks to get that out to you, but you win the Vitamix. And Megan usually does these, and she's a little bit more amped about it. Than
Sorry, I can do that.
So Kathy,
you can hand me over the papers, I can handle it. Is Kathy the one that has the good question?
Kathy has an awesome question.
Okay.
We can get into it. It's not the awesome question you were thinking about, though.
Okay, let's not.
No, but we will. We have to honor it. So she wants to know, vets are late to the party in terms of natural ways to approach health versus medicating and chasing disease. Perhaps herbal uses to support health, a natural diet, and how to make dinner for our furry friends, vitamin and mineral supplementation, and the like. So
I'm out.
Okay, so I'll handle this one. So a couple years ago, Lucy of the famed Lucy's Brew Coffee, which you can get at thealternativedaily.com/coffee, Lucy actually had an infection in her eye, so I went to go to an eye specialist, and this is a really cool story. And so I went in there, and the doctor was looking at. They do all these different eye exams and everything. And Lucy's a really healthy dog, but something was just up with her eye, and it's kind of crazy. She's scared. They're kind of like bouncing stuff off her eyeballs,
prodding
and everything.
at her.
Yeah, and it's kind of scary. And so the doctor comes in, and she was like, right now we can't tell if it's just an easy infection. I can't tell you if it's cancer. And I was like, we use the word cancer. Because you can't say that. And she's like, I can't. She's like, I'm just being honest with you. I can't tell you exactly what it is now. We need to keep an eye on it and just kind of check it out for the next couple weeks. But here's what I want to give you. She gave me. I forget what she's like, we got to try antibiotics on this. And it was kind of like she was kind of, as she was talking, was taking more of a natural approach. So we got to do antibiotics. And we got to do something else it was. And I was asking all about it. And so I asked her, I was like, if we're going to do antibiotics, shouldn't we do probiotics? Like, if there's definitely an infection that's caused by bacteria, and you truly believe that this is going to fix it, I'm putting it in your hands, we should do probiotics. And she looked at me, she was like, you're speaking my language. She was like, absolutely, if you're going to do antibiotics, 100% do probiotics. And in addition to that, here's a supplement too that also helps with eye health. And I was like, this is awesome. And so we started talking. And I remember asking her like a bunch of questions. She's like, you kind of know what you're talking about. And I was like, well, I kind of run an alternative health website. And she was like, well, which one? And I was like, oh, it's the Alternative Daily. And it's funny. She came back, she had to go get the supplements and everything and came back. And she's like, wait, did you send out an email today about the dangers of microwaves? And I kind of was like, yes. And she said, oh my God, I love that email. I signed up to your list. I've been, a subscriber for the past couple of years. And
do we know how she knows of us?
Yeah,
I say us like I'm.
You're part of it now. She just stumbled upon the website, and so her name is Dr. Carmen Kolitz. I go to Dr. Carmen anytime Lucy has something wrong with her eye. Dr. Carmen has an awesome job. She treats animals. She helps treat their eyes. In addition to that, she also treats seal eyes and dolphin eyes. So Dr. Carmen is traveling up and down the coasts. She goes to Hawaii often and does it, and just helps treat, like, whether it's animals at zoos, whether it's animals like along the coast, wild animals that definitely have stuff wrong with their eyes. She helps treat them, and she takes a really natural approach. The one thing she suggested, Kathy, was to take a look at the ingredients of our current dog food, which was I was using something called Science Diet at the time, and this was I didn't know much about pet health, and she encouraged me to look hard at the ingredients. There was a lot of grains, there was a lot of wheat in there, and she was like, that's just stuff that dogs shouldn't be eating. They're supposed to be eating mice and rats and and pigs and all these type of things. And so she put me on a different brand called Origin, Orijin. And Origin is it's pretty much, you could say, like a paleo-based type of food regimen for the dogs. And so we started doing that with Lucy. Lucy just turned 9 a couple weeks ago, and she is still catching frisbees at the beach and doing well.
Spunky.
Yeah, she's awesome. So so thank you for the question, Kathy, and we will actually get that Vitamix out to you shortly. So we also are going to be giving away this week. We're going to be giving away three Squatty Potties. And so Matt,
Jake,
yes,
do 4.
Do 4? Oh
Yeah.
my god! All right,
I like spending your money.
we're going to give away 5 Squatty Potties.
There we are.
5 Squatty
There we
Potties. Here
are.
we go. See, I'm always up for a good dare when you're around. So we're going to give away 5 Squatty Potties. And if you're not familiar with this, I stumbled upon these a couple years ago. It was actually first an advertiser for ours, and they, I was like, if we're gonna advertise, I got to try it out. Send it to me, and they sent me one, and it really is good. So what it actually does is, and I'm gonna tell you from my perspective, and then Matt's gonna give you the science. It's a stool that you put in front of your toilet, and it actually lifts your legs up at the proper height. So if you actually think of your digestive system and your let's call it poop chute as a chute, we'll just call it that. When you're sitting there or you're bent over, you're kind of touching your knees when you're on the toilet. What actually happens is your sphincter and the way where the poop comes out gets bent and gets kind of like the poop actually has to work harder. Your intestines, your body has to work harder to get it out.
Yeah, you're trapping it in your colon.
You trap it. There you go. And so, and I'm not kidding. I've told this story multiple times to people. When I use Squatty Potty, it lifts your legs up. And it's literally, you have to push less. You don't have to kind of do the grunt. You don't have to do all that type of stuff.
I believe the way they market it is a fuller release.
Fuller release. Yeah, they probably want to say that if they're doing some ads and stuff like that. But yeah, you don't have to grunt. And as I've been eating healthier, I poop more, right? I poop, once or twice a day, more regular, whether it's in the morning. And so the Squatty Potty is absolutely phenomenal. If you've never heard of it, or if you have heard of it and you want to try it, here's what you have to do if you want to get one of the free Squatty Potties. Matt, tell them what they have to do to win.
Well, put on the spot. If you would like to win this, please, of course,
you email us
at thealternativedaily.com.
Here's how you use email nowadays.
Oh, sorry.
Podcast.
Sorry, at podcast.
The Alternative Daily.
The Alternative Daily.
Matt had no clue how to get somebody to win it. I just like putting people on the spot. Do you want to do it, or you want me to do it?
I do email.
You do?
Every week.
Yeah.
Some of them are funny emails. Some of them are actually trying to win things, and I always get denied.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, you can't win.
I know.
And especially now with you being on the podcast, you've kind of...
Friend of the program.
Yeah. So here's what you have to do to win a Squatty Potty. You have to email us at podcast@thealternativedaily.com and just send us a topic of something that you want us to discuss. And tell us anything. Just give us your comments. Give us something you like. If you want to say something, if you want to say a comment about the Squatty Potty, just say hi. If just email us podcast@thealternativedaily.com. And subject line though, here's how you got to do. Here's how you have to win. Subject line is poop. POOP.
I like poop.
See, no, you don't have to say that.
Okay.
Unless you were just telling me that you did like poop.
I do.
Who doesn't like to do that, right?
So here's an interesting fact, Jake. I don't mean to interrupt
Tell me,
you.
go for it.
As per Men's Health, which is, of course, the Bible of all facts. Not really, but I found it interesting when we were
it's a good publication.
When we were looking at these topics. Per Men's Health, one company claims, which would be the Squatty Potty company, claims that you can remove an extra 20 pounds of poop inside your body if you properly use the Squatty Potty for your release. 20 pounds. So they're trying to say that...
How, is that a year, or what is that?
That is a year.
20 pounds. You can literally drop 20 pounds by using Squatty Potty.
Those are fake numbers, though.
What do you mean they're fake numbers?
Because you're not just going to lose 20 pounds.
We got to put it to the test.
There's residual weight that's left in you, in your colon, from your colon being...
But if you're getting it out, that's 20 pounds.
It is. It can be.
So they're claiming that you can actually lose weight by propping your feet up and having at it.
They say most people carry an extra 5...
Have you used one? Look at me.
I have not. I have not used one yet.
I like when you look at me when we talk about you pooping. You have not used one?
I have not.
Well, next time, because you're at my house for the next 4 or 5 days, next time you get the urge, ring the alarm, and I will bring the Squatty Potty to you.
I like that. Can you bring me a newspaper as well?
I'll bring you a newspaper. Well, who uses that in there? You can use an iPad.
Well, before you interrupt me, I was going to say, it says 5 to 20 pounds of fecal matter are left in the digestive system day to day. So that kind of answers your question.
Okay. That's Awesome. So let's get that. Let's get that poop out.
Yeah, let's move on to the next
Awesome.
topic. We could go.
Email us.
We could go down the drain with this one.
Email us podcast@thealternativedaily.com. Subject line poop. And in the email, just tell me comments, something you'd like to hear us talk about. If you like Dishner, if you don't like Dishner, your chances go up if you say that you don't like him. And anything, podcast@thealternativedaily.com, subject line poop, and you will enter and win one of the 5 Squatty Potties that we're giving away this week. Awesome. So the next topic that I actually want to talk about is something that both you and I are members of now. Kind of voluntarily, but you kind of get thrown into it.
It was voluntarily.
It's not kind of. Some people don't go into it voluntarily. Well,
without a doubt. We had that discussion last night.
Some people don't go into it voluntarily.
Some people don't handle it well.
Some people don't handle it well. And that is the fraternity and sorority of parenthood. And so Matt has 2 beautiful children that he left up in Pennsylvania. Well, you didn't leave them.
I didn't leave them.
you
They're on a trip. They're on a trip to go see their aunt.
They're with their mother. You didn't.
Yes.
Leave is a terrible word. You did not leave your family. You just went on a sabbatical.
They're in the care of my beautiful wife and my parents. They're very good, and they're on a trip of their own to go see their aunt and uncle.
So, and then I obviously have, as I discussed here multiple times, I have little Noah here, and it's been a game changer. So as we went through as we navigated our single bachelor life through college, and then we met the awesome women that we have now, and then somehow impregnated them, and now we have kids. It's literally been a game changer. And I just actually want to jump right in and ask you. It's a tough question, which is, what out of everything that's happened with having a kid, what has been the most frustrating? Because there are frustrations. There's tons of wins, but what actually, maybe not even frustrations, but it could say frustration, or what's been like the biggest change that you were not ready for?
Let's say frustration. That's fine.
Okay, cool. Go for it.
Balance. You have to balance everything in your life.
So you're saying that you were not balanced before, or was it just a different balance?
When I say balance, it's a work-life balance, a social life balance. There's always things you want to do. I'm a very active guy. I have a good group of friends, and I think you'll know this. If one guy, their kids are out of town or something like that, he's looking for things to do. So he's calling around.
Right.
And when you answer the phone, you have your kids there, but he doesn't.
Right.
So it's, hey, do you want to go have a beer? Or, hey, I got tickets to the Eagles game.
Right.
Can you make it? The balance of before kids, I had a very accepting wife. She was like, go for it. What a great opportunity.
Yes.
And she said that every time. Now I have to think about things.
Right.
Well, so balance is the hardest part. And that's a part that some people don't get, I don't think. I don't think some people fully digest the fact that they can say no to things.
Right.
I have friends that are always out. Their kids are always with sitters because they say yes to everything. You want? Oh yes, we will. Oh yeah, we'll do that too. We choose not to go down that road.
Yeah.
We like to carry a pretty good balance. My wife is a business professional. She has a very heavy workload. Works about 60 hours a week. So we have to keep in mind of our time together, so we can keep married, which is good. And our time with our kids.
Yeah.
And still try to have a social life and have fun and be 32.
Yeah, absolutely. And so for me, it was the similar thing, but I've always been honest about this, which has been I didn't realize how selfish I was. Because you're really not selfish up until you have a baby, because it's kind of like you said, you and your wife, you do your thing.
Doing your thing.
And Gina and I have we always have had a different type of relationship where we don't do a lot of things together. We kind of do our own things, which is cool. It works for us. And so we've really never had to depend on each other. And then when we had Noah, and we had it in a very traumatic way, that it was just kind of, we had to start relying on each other. It was like, I actually needed her to be places. She needed me to be places. And that never happened with us before. We just had a very, I don't want to say open, just kind of from a sexual, but it was a very just kind of open thing of Gina, I'm going to go away for the weekend. Cool. Yep. Fine. It was that was always fine. But now it's different. And so it wasn't that I was selfish then, but I guess for me, I was still trying to be selfish after that, for the first 2 years. And it's kind of, because for me, it took me a while. It took me a while to really kind of say, I got to really kind of, stop being upset about not being able to go to this trip or that trip, or, I just can't surf every day and everything. So,
but you're 3 years in.
Yeah. 3 years in.
I'm 2.5 years in. At this point, do you still have those same feelings?
Not as much.
Just like situational, right? If someone calls you up and says, "Hey Jake, I got front row tickets to OAR this weekend.
Right.
Can you go?" But Gina's out of town and you have Noah.
Exactly.
Right.
And
so then you're in the dilemma. What do I?
No, with something like that, like I'm very good with like there's no way out. So I just got to kind of put my head and do it. But where my entrepreneurial head starts kind of squirreling around is if I can find a way out. And so, but for me, it's more so, here's what really gets me more than anything. It's not even so much about trips. It's, let's say, if it's like on a Saturday or something like that, and let's say there's just good waves, but we have a ton of stuff planned for the day. In my head, I'm out there surfing, and that's bad because I'm not there with them, and that creates, anxiety, that can create, frustration and everything.
My wife and I have that conversation a lot. Being present.
Right.
Being present's hard. Another thing you have to think about and take into consideration, and we're both very lucky in this, is right now in our lives we have more than we ever have had. And
sure.
I'm just thinking about opportunities, monetarily wise, life wise, all kinds of things. So with that come those dilemmas, because you're like, hey, now I don't live in Virginia anymore. I live in West Palm Beach, Florida. There's waves out there.
Right.
I have a swimming pool in back, but we still have to go get Noah school supplies.
No, exactly.
Whatever it is that day.
And that was the big
My
thing,
gym.
is because like when I came to when I moved down here, it opened up a whole world of like outdoor activities for me that I was doing. However, when we had Noah, it wasn't. We tried to take her to a lot of different places, but as you know, like it's very hard to do that. Some people were able to take their kids hiking and camping and their kids be fine. Ours was not like that. We tried so hard to kind of get her to kind of do what we wanted to do, and it was so hard.
But the cool thing is I think we've had this conversation before, and not to toot our own horns, but I think you and I do a good job about it. But I think that we learned that from having good parents.
Yeah. No, you absolutely do. And, I think, getting into like the parent side of it, the parents of parents, I've never really thought about it, because you hear politicians talk about how like parenting is important and all these different things. And I kind of was always like blew it off, but it's so true, right? I mean, the odds of somebody, if you have good parents, the odds of the child, being a productive member of society are higher. Not to say that if you have good parents that they're not going to be productive, because that it's all across the spectrum, right?
Right.
But you as parents, you try to give your child the best. You don't try and give them the worst. You try and give them the best. And so
you try to do your best.
Right.
We've talked about this before. There's no rules.
There's no rules.
There's no right or wrong answer.
There's no book. And it's just, literally, it's so funny because we were just talking about this the other day. I was taking Noah to school, and it was just something like I never thought, 10 years ago I'd be dealing with. You're taking Noah to school, and she's saying the cutest thing back there, and then all of a sudden she starts crying because like the sun's in her eyes, and then she starts saying, she says, "Dada, Dada," and I look back, and she just picked her nose, and she's got the biggest booger in her finger, and it's like so disgusting to me, and I'm just kind of like, what do I do right now? It's like I just got to gag and get it and flick it out the window, and it's like that's what life is.
But that is what life is. The stuff that you would never do before, you don't think twice about.
Right.
I'd have ripped that booger right off, rolled down my window, flicked it right out, and went, wiped it on my pants and called it a day. You learn to clean up vomit.
Oh my God.
Poop, pee, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
You called me one morning and you said, what are you doing this morning? I was like, well, I'm dealing with poop. Both my kids have pooped. I walked the dog to poop, and I've pooped. That's the only thing I've done. It's 9:30 on a Saturday morning.
And it talked about this. It's a humbling thing too, because you and I have very strong. How do I say this? We're very headstrong in some things. I'm going to go do something. I'm going to go do it. I'm the best at it. Blah blah blah. And then
you think you're the best at everything.
Yeah, you do. I mean, we couldn't agree more on
just
that.
you.
Just me. Because I am. But it's good to have that kind of slap in the face, whether it's a diaper, whether it's poop, and just kind of like, ugh. And I've told the story when, I keep saying that, of when I started building the Alternative Daily. I was on a call with somebody talking about like a big advertising deal or something like that. And I'm talking to him, and I had Noah at the time because Gina was out. And I look over, and she's kind of like walking on the floor, and she's poop's coming through her diaper, and she's like stepping in it, and it's going everywhere. And so like I'm trying to have this call, and so I pick her up, like try and take her to the bathtub, take the diaper off, and like I eventually have to like shut the call off and like, can I call you back real quick? Then I come back outside, and like the poop's now smeared. Lucy's like eaten half of it, and I literally I was about to start crying, and I was like, I don't know what to do in this situation. And it's funny because you can find ways to survive, and how I survived that was I actually had to call my dad. I was like, I don't know how I can keep Lucy from eating all this poop while keeping Noah safe. She wasn't in like the bathtub with water, but like Noah's in the tub. There's no water in there. I'm just trying to confine the poop. Can you come over and help me? And if he didn't come, I obviously would have found a way, but Lucy might have a belly full of even more poop at that point. But it's just like kind of like, it puts you in situations, and it's very parallel to entrepreneurialism, entrepreneurship, I should say, which is you get put in situations where you're like, how the hell did I get into this right now?
And how am I going to get out?
And where's the answer? And when you own your own business, and then when you're doing stuff like that, like there's no manual. I wasn't passed down a manual for this.
But I think that's one of the things that you do a really good job at now. You have grown a successful business, and
I did a terrible job of that.
You might have did a terrible job at and fumbled your way through it, but now you've gotten to it. And we have some friends that are, starting up their own companies, and you'll take calls with them, and you'll just be a sounding board for them. So, I think it's one of the things that you're kind of doing the same thing. It's not parenting, but the 20-year-old Jake wouldn't have taken 2 hours out of his day to talk to someone about their business when you had business that you needed to take care of.
Right.
So I think parenting changes that. I think it's like you're not parenting, our friend who's a year older than us, but hello, Mark Conley.
He listens. Hey, Mark.
You're not parenting Mark, but the skills that you learn as being a parent help translate into what you're doing with other people.
I would say and I was talking to Gina's dad, who's a very successful businessman, and I was telling him, I was like, the only thing I could really because parenting is like unlike any other thing that you experience in life. But the most thing it's closest for is literally just like running your own business, because it's sometimes shit hits the fan and you have to clean it up or call somebody to help, but there's there's literally no manual. You literally, you're kind of what we like to call like a reluctant leader. You want to do it, you want to execute, but at times you're like, I really don't want to clean this shit up, but I have to. Nobody else is going to do it.
Right.
And so it's
and I think that's a stopping point for a lot of people.
Oh yeah. And whether it is having babies, but then even if they do have babies and they realize that they can't deal with that, that's when bad things happen. They leave. They can't deal with it.
It certainly will test your marriage.
It 100% tests your marriage. But here's what if I had to say, like, the number one best thing that I have learned, if I could give like one piece of advice for like a new dad, a new mom, if you're pregnant, etc., the best advice is to talk to somebody. Have somebody just to talk to. Vent it out. Because you could say like, I just wanted to punch a hole through the wall. I wanted to do this. I wanted to do that. And just by talking to somebody about it just makes it so much better. So, I'm not going to tell you which diapers to get. I'm not going to tell you which car seat to get. The best advice is just to talk to somebody.
Right.
That's
and I think that you and I talk about this daily. I think sometimes we're our sounding boards for each other on being a parent and things like that. But I can tell you that the only good thing that I can think of that I've ever done in my life is be a dad.
Wait, say that again?
I could probably tell you that the only good thing that I've ever really done in my life is be a dad. I think that's the best thing I've ever done.
Look at you. That's good.
Yeah.
You're good at it. You're good at when your kids are around. They're good kids. They're not putting holes in my screens as some kids have done. And you guys have a good balance. You guys have a really, really good balance. You guys have found a good balance that works for you two, which is absolutely one of the most important things to do. But as we were kind of discussing what we were going to talk about this topic, we both come from. We're both very fortunate. We had both of our parents in our lives. They're both still alive and well. But the one thing I wanted to ask you, which was, and they did a good job, right? Here we are. They did a good job. Yeah. What is one thing that you would do differently though to your kids? Not to you, but for your kids. What is one thing that you would do that you are or going to do differently to your kids that your parents did to you?
I'm pretty sure, and we've talked about this. So I think the conclusion I've come up to is give them not opportunities, because I'm an only child. I had every opportunity that you possibly could have, but I don't remember a lot of cultural enrichment stuff. A lot of parks, a lot of events, arts, music. We try to have a lot of music on in the house. Yeah. But then again, I don't remember back to when I was 3.
Right.
But, I like to take my kids to the park, take them hiking,
yeah.
Have them, interactive with things. They've traveled.
Yeah.
My kids are probably as well traveled as some 25-year-olds.
Yes.
I know that you always laugh. You're like, you're really taking your kids on a plane?
Both
I'm like,
of them.
yeah, we are.
You do it well.
We're going to handle this somehow.
You do it well.
They've been down to Florida a few times. I think my kids have been in almost 10 states probably.
Yeah. No, that's good. And as I was kind of thinking about it too, it's kind of similar, which was, and again, my parents, they did everything that they could, right? And I can see it now. If either of our parents listen to this, like, oh my God, we did everything we could for you.
I'm going to get yelled at.
Yeah, I'm going to get yelled at too.
Yeah,
and
sorry, Mom and Dad.
I still get scared about that. But it is just kind of like opening up to more things. Like I would say my big thing was, and my parents, I mean, even though they were soccer parents and sports parents.
Soccer parents, big. Like my parents were the soccer parents.
My parents, even when they go see my niece play, they're screaming, and that's their way of showing their affection. That's their way of showing their support. I want to get Noah, and I've talked to you about this too. Like, I'm not big on doing mainstream things, so like I don't want her to be I want her to be whatever she wants to be. And so I want to expose her to other things that aren't your typical, soccer, basketball, baseball, softball, whatever. Just kind of do what everybody else is doing. I want to expose her to, like we swim. Like she's an awesome swimmer. We've done that. We've talked about that before on the podcast. I love that she's an awesome swimmer. She's great. She loves the ocean. She loves the beach. And, exposing her to things like that, whether it is hiking. Now, she's in this girly phase right now, which I'm going to completely admit, I'm just like, I don't know how to deal with this. I don't know where it's coming from. I have an idea where it's coming from. I think it's coming from her aunts who love to, paint toenail polish and everything. And by the way, the aunts go against any type of stereotype that you think. They're all into the girly stuff. And so, and I love it. They're so great with her. So they paint toenails. The other day we were out, we went to go get something to eat, and Gina took her to her store. Noah wanted to get some pink high heels, and I just was like, oh my God. But I have to, it's one of those things you got to keep in check. Like, it's not like we buy her everything she asks for, but I'm exposing her to things. So it's like, if you want to try on the high heels, go for it. And it's very hard for me to say that, because I'm like, maybe we shouldn't give those to her because, we don't want to expose her to that. But then I was just to think, I want her to try everything.
Well, I did help Noah get out the door this morning and grab the pink pair of sneakers she was looking for. But they were the wrong pink tennis shoes.
See, there's a
there was another pair of pink tennis shoes that I was supposed to give to her that I didn't know about.
Yeah,
and she let me know.
Yeah. Oh, she does let you know. That's where it goes awry, is when you give them too many options. I guess I don't know. Again, there's no manual on this stuff, and I'm literally shooting in the dark. So, same thing.
And you didn't grow up in a house with 2 pink frilly girls.
No, both my sisters very active, and
awesome athletes,
and would never really wear high heels during in the house and stuff like that. But like Noah is, and she's like walking around with a purse, and it's cute, it's really cute. But I also have to kind of I want to say let's go, but she will and she'll grab one of those fishing rods and she'll go fishing with me too, which is really cool. So I gotta be. I think every dad wants to kind of have that little rough and tough. I don't even say boy or girl, but just like little rough and tough thing that wants to do everything that they do. But I'm trying to be very careful about that. And my parents were good about that, but it was just more of they exposed us to sports, and I want to open it up more.
Yeah, I mean, one of my really good buddies in Pennsylvania has 2 girls, and his wife is the cheerleading coach. And he's like, you know what? My daughter's going to be on the 4-wheeler. She's going to go up to hunting camp with me. Yeah. She's going to be exposed to this stuff. She can cheerlead, and she's a cute little blonde. She's going to be a little cheerleader. But, he wants to make sure she's out there 4-wheeling.
That's so
she
funny.
can put on camo, play sports. She's in, soccer shots, a little, playing sports already. So it's a hard balance. I'm lucky to have a boy and a girl. So
Are you guys done?
yeah, we're done.
You are done. You're making this official.
That's a funny question. I am going to make this official. It's
Did
always
you
a
have
funny
vasectomy?
question. No, I didn't.
Will you do that?
I will. Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing that all guys do that like sports. Around either the Masters or the Final Four, when there's 3 or 4 days of straight sports on, go do it.
That's not what every guy does.
Well,
I don't watch that.
I'm pretty sure.
Every guy except me.
Every guy that likes sports. I did make that note.
So what happens? You go in and get snipped, and then you're going to kind of be sore for the next couple of days. So
you're kind of bedridden. You're on the couch with some ice.
I have a friend.
So you could do it around like the World Surfing Championships.
I probably won't get a vasectomy.
Really?
Yeah.
I will.
I don't think so. I don't know.
I'm going to. And the cruel reality and the blunt answer is, when our kids get a little bit older and we make sure that things are good and it's definitely time that we're not going to do it, I'll do it. But if God forbid something would ever happen, I want the opportunity, to reproduce.
To reproduce again. I get that.
I know, and I realize that it's reversible, and
so I had a friend
and things are great, but I'd rather not.
I'd
rather not go through that and then go through it again.
One of our good friends here had a child, and he said, "We just want one and done." Had she's awesome, and they had a baby, and then he had the vasectomy, and then things didn't work out for the parents. They're still very good friends, but decided that they would make better parents and friends as opposed to husband and wife. And then he met his current wife, who's awesome, and she wanted kids. He had to go get it reversed.
Yeah,
and he said,
I hear that's more painful.
He said getting it snipped, getting vasectomy was, he was like, you were in and out 15, 20 minutes, and he was like a little bit of pain, and he was fine. He was like, getting it reversed was absolutely terrible. And so I was like, are we getting another one? He's like, we're definitely gonna have another kid. I don't know. He's like, and so we just kind of been talking about whether he's gonna get another one or not. But I don't know. I think you guys should add like 2 or 3 more. You should do it.
I think in a perfect world, my wife would love to have three or 4 kids. We both love kids too. I mean, we're the first ones to grab our friends' babies and hold them when we're together at parties and stuff like that. But the reality is you have to be a good parent.
Right.
And I always use the sports thing. You
love sports.
Right now we're playing one-on-one defense.
One-on-one defense.
And if we go to a zone, and she goes right and I go left, and then one goes shooting up the middle to touchdown. Like
I've heard that two is obviously 2 is a lot, but when you're outnumbered, when you got 3 now, it's just like
my sister-in-law has 3. And they're great, and she does a great job parenting them. But the troubles of having 3 kids, and you have to get a minivan. I don't want to get a minivan.
They're not terrible.
You 100%
They're not
have
terrible.
to have a minivan.
They're not terrible. One of my best friends, other than you, that I grew up with in Newport News, he has 3 kids, and I went over there. It was like earlier this year. He's got 3. He just had like a brand new baby, and his wife was out, so it was just him versus these 3 girls. 3 girls. Him versus 3. And so I was over there talking, and our conversations were like spurts of like 10 seconds. We talk like this, and then like something would happen, and then just like, and so we were trying to have a conversation, and then I just remember like sitting, like they had like these like pillars in their house, and I was kind of like backing up to one, or a column you could say. I was backing up, just kind of talking to him, and his daughter came up to me.
Like getting yourself out of the situation, like backing out.
His daughter came up to me and just like looked at me like this, and then just reached out and just grabbed me right in the man parts and just held it right there and just looked at me. And I looked at Adam, and I was like, I don't know the laws. I don't know what I'm allowed to do to swipe her hand. I was like, can you just over here? Somebody just look over here. She's grabbing me right now. And so
can we please have a parent over here, please?
And so he obviously he got her off me. But it was funny because like there was like just kids everywhere. So interesting. Yeah. So that's our parenting talk for this week. But we're gonna do one last segment, which is, it's funny. This is a question that we got. And it was perfect for you and I. And this is a question from Athena Roke. And Athena asks, one topic she wants to hear about is, how can I stay healthy when I go out with friends? Alcoholic drinks, do's and don'ts of the night and night before without feeling crummy the next day. So I mean, the really black and white easy answer is the best way to feel good the next day is just to not drink the night before. I mean, that's science, right?
Or moderation.
But what I have found, so obviously in college, Dishner and I, we're actually, funny enough, if you're listening to this and you knew us, this is very tame for us. But if in college, if this was 13 years ago, this would be a completely different story.
If this was 13 years ago and we hadn't seen each other for a year, we would have beers cracked open right now.
Yes,
and it would probably involve a lot more cussing.
And also, I also want to make a complete disclaimer too that you're a bad weed smoker too. I'm not alone in this.
I'm the worst.
You're the worst.
We've talked about this plenty of times.
I'm sorry. I don't know if your employer's listening to this. I didn't even think about that.
It's okay. I mean, I honestly haven't smoked since the first semester of my senior year.
Yeah.
So
but you're as bad as I was.
I'm pretty sure. I was horrible. And our other roommate, which we talked about a couple
times. If you get
times.
Fired, you can come do this every.
The
Thursday
same guy that was really good at smoking cigarettes was really good at smoking weed.
Yeah, funny enough.
If we were ever around him, we basically just took ourselves out of the situation.
So the weed smokers, as I like to call them, tell me that there's no hangover the next day. But when it comes to us, like in college, I mean, it was for us. It was literally a 4-year party. I mean, it was just continuing it going, and just if I felt bad, it was just like another cracking open another beer.
But we were 18 years old.
Yeah, it was a completely. I don't want to say it was a different time, but I mean, it was like a social experiment, and we lived to talk about it. And some people don't live to talk about it. But we talked about this, which was, for my transgression was, so college, we drank a lot every single day. I mean, and when we were talking about a lot, we were talking like 12 to 18 beers easily.
Yeah, easily.
And then we kind of graduate, and then you kind of
and cheap beers.
Yeah, these weren't
Old Milwaukee Light.
Yeah, or
Natural Light.
And so then we graduate. Funny enough, we just talked about a story about, we won't name names, but there was somebody, one of our friends, who held the century record. And I remember being like, what's the century record? And like, he drank 100 beers in a weekend. And at first you're kind of thinking like, oh, okay. And then
I can do this.
If you do that math, that's, if you count Friday.
I believe they counted Friday because we did ask.
That's 33.3 beers a day. And that's averaging, a little over one beer an hour.
He was kind of a bigger dude. I'd say he was like 6'2".
And so I even
pounds.
asked you the same question now. It was like, do you think that you could do 100? Do you think you could do that now? And both of us are like, no.
No, we talked about this last night.
Could you do 100 beers in a week?
No, I don't think I could.
What did we decide that came out? This is our college education coming out. And
14.
That's what. Yeah, good to remember.
14 beers.
14 beers a day for a week.
I would say 2 weeks at 7 beers a day would still be hard to do.
Maybe if you're doing the Coors Light, right?
Coors Lights, but eventually I would just be over it. Because you're not doing it. If we're not in college,
what's the point of doing it?
If we're not in college and we don't,
and you have meetings to go to.
Yeah, if we have meetings to go to, and 2 kids running around, and swim lessons on Thursdays and things like that.
I think you could do it in 2 weeks.
I could if we're doing
Coors
Lights.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about if we're talking about alcohol here, you and I like to drink IPAs. We enjoy having 2 or 3 7 to 8% alcohol beers. Yeah. Now you're a man if you could do that.
100 of those. That's crazy.
Oh, wow.
I'll
jump on this.
Okay, go for it. You want to take it?
Well, no, I'll jump on an answer for.
I was gonna say from college we drank for a lot. Then from after that we graduated and moved to you moved to Pennsylvania. I moved to Florida, and then it kind of went from 12 to 18 beers a night to, I'll be honest with me, like it got to a point where I was like 6 beers a night. 6 beers a night's a lot, and people called and if you want to you can call it whatever you want to label it.
Yeah, I guess on the scale, if there's a doctor here, he would be talking to you about alcoholism.
Sure,
but it's not.
But that dropped down, and it kept dropping down, and until like now where it's like, I enjoy like a good beer with dinner. I drink it not to get drunk. I drink it because I actually enjoy the flavor that comes out of it.
And you enjoy a $15 6-pack.
Yeah.
You used to enjoy a $15 30-pack.
Right, exactly.
And I think that makes a big difference. One of the tips that I would give you, Athena, would be, what are you drinking and what are you mixing? If you like rum and Cokes, the sugar that's in the Coke and the sugars that are in the alcohol are gonna help the hangover even worse. If you take away the mixer, the Coke or whatever it is you do, and just have the liquor on the rocks.
That's true. If you're good, like you said, if the whole thing is if you're going to do this,
if you're going to do this, and then I'm gonna assume that you're not having a bottom of the shelf liquor as well. So if you're gonna have
because a lot of the bottom shelf liquors actually have a lot of sugar.
They have sugars, and they're not filtered correctly, and they're just not as good for you as other ones.
Right.
So if you're gonna have, let's say, a vodka, don't buy the gallon plastic bottle of Vladimir. Have a Tito's.
Get a potato vodka is actually one of the better ones.
It is, yeah, potato vodka, or a Tito's, or something that's small batch made, not massively produced.
Another good one actually is tequila. It's funny enough, is actually tequila,
and that's been your drink of choice lately.
It's not. I'm not drinking it every day because tequila can be something that if you drink a lot of it, you're going to fight the person next to you, right? But if I sip on it,
that's only like El Sol with the sombrero on it.
I sip on it like on the rocks, and it's like like one little like shot, but poured over the rocks. But here's the deal with tequila is you got to make sure it's 100% agave. And you also have to make sure that it's made in Mexico. That's like true tequila. And the reality is the higher dollar the best is for you. And so tequila is actually one of the better ones. But go ahead.
Mixing in a water or two throughout the night.
Water per drink is the best thing.
Yeah, and if you can't do that, water per 3, or if you have 6 drinks, if you can have one water in there, it'll help.
When was the last time you had 6+ drinks?
Last weekend.
You went to a football game.
I went to a football game.
But here's kind of like the more philosophical answer, I think, which is actually good. It's what I live by, which is I have found like my range that I feel completely 100% fine the next day, and I'm not like, and I'm just I'm feeling good. Is for me personally, and I'm all about testing on your body. Anywhere from like 1 to 3 beers, I'm perfect, right? And again, I'm not driving or anything. I'm just hanging out at home, just doing whatever. 1 to 3, I'm perfect. And I'm not saying that I got to do that every single night, but 1 to 3, you kind of have this, it's good. I found that once I go to 4, the next day I can feel it. If I have 2, I'm awesome. Like last night, even I just had 2 beers with you, and it was late at night, and I felt awesome this morning. Once I hit that, and this is just for the high octane IPAs that I drink. Once I kind of hit that 4, that type of thing, I start to feel a little bit not right.
Sometimes when the 4th beer hits, the switch gets flipped, and the 4 can turn into 5.
That is true.
Where 3, your switch is not.
Where that kind of that demon comes out and was like, you can do one more.
I can have one more. I'm not there yet.
So find your balance. And so like even when you and I talk about this, like if we're going to an event, if you're going to a place where it's going to be heavy, and it's going to be like it's like a party, right? You got to find your balance. Like I'm actually good about this now. I was terrible about it in my younger years, but pacing myself and just saying, you know what? I'm going to have one. I'm going to nurse it for a little bit. I'll have another one. I'll nurse it for a little bit. And then we'll kind of like wrap it up and see. You, on the other hand.
Yeah, I look at a different approach.
You do.
I can pull out my calendar right now and look at the events that I have coming up.
And know exactly how many beers you're going to have.
And kind of dictate in my head already how many beers I'll have, or glasses of wine or whatnot, and how I'll feel, and what kind of alcohol it'll be, and however.
Yeah.
If I'm at a football game and I'm tailgating, I'm gonna have more than the 3 or 4 beers, but they're gonna be Coors Lights, and I've been drinking Coors Lights since I was 17 years old. I know how many Coors Lights I can drink and get away with it the next morning.
But it's different now that we have kids.
It is different now, and it's all
because who's not hungover?
Yeah, the kids. My kids have never been hungover. my kids get more hype the more I'm hungover, I believe.
Oh my God. So Athena, that's an.
Well, I think we should talk about a little bit what you could what you could do the next day.
Oh, I haven't found the only thing I've actually found, and maybe you have something. I found going for a run.
Yeah, going
for a run, sweating it out. It's not going to fix it completely, but at least it helps your psyche. Matt and I both have crazy anxiety if we're hungover, and that's the worst for me. But I haven't found that hangover cure or whatever.
A good run and a cold shower.
Yes,
just
cold shower. And
not
coffee.
It's not gonna get you back to where you want to be.
No, it's not.
Get the electrolytes in.
You'll do you'll drink your kids Pedialyte.
I'll drink.
I haven't found that actually works.
I'll drink a Pedialyte. It helps for me. There's also these electrolyte pills that you can buy at a GNC.
Okay.
that they give these to athletes during warm weather training.
Yeah.
It's just it's just all electrolytes.
Maybe that's what you needed today.
I might have needed one.
Yeah, I haven't found anything that works. Like, honestly, I guess from just like a mental standpoint, because people say, don't have a hair of the dog. And I'm not talking about it's the next day you're throwing up. I'm talking like if you're feeling off. Like, 'cause if you're throwing up the next day, I got bad news. It's not going to be a good day.
The hair of the dog leads you down a very dark road, possibly.
It could. It really could. But what
because when do you stop that?
Because the hair of the dog might actually help with the anxiety, though. And if that helps with the anxiety, it calms the anxiety. Maybe it gets you into a sleep for another 2 or 3 hours that you can rest up and just pass the time. And then and feel better in the afternoon. I mean, these are all things that we've tried literally every single. But nothing was like, oh, you know what? That fixed it. I'm good.
No, yeah. There's.
I had people that would say, smoking weed, that's the best hangover cure. And bullshit. It would just make me just incapacitated.
Let's develop that. That's a get rich quick right there.
So many people have tried that.
Anti-hangovers. Yeah, they're great.
I don't know. There's some people that actually. There's a couple things out there that if you take these pills with
the chaser.
Yeah.
I tried that.
And what?
Like it was years ago when it first came out.
Did it work?
I was like, thought the gods had come down. Oh no. What it does is it gives you the worst stomach the next day.
Oh,
your stomach just hurts.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So whatever goes in your body can't be good.
Yeah, I think the best is water after every drink, finding your balance where you're feeling good, but you know that you're not going to be worthless the next day, and
embrace it.
And then sometimes you got to roll with it and just say, I'm going to be ball of anxiety for the rest of the day.
I'm just gonna make it through it.
Oh man. So that's our tips. That's our tips on how to. Don't drink the shitty liquors and.
Yeah, if you're gonna have a drink, just throw that anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're gonna have a drink, make it worth your while. Have a good one. Have 1 or 2. Don't drive.
Yeah.
Be responsible.
Awesome. Well, that's going to do it. And you know what, Athena? I'm actually going to send you even though I said don't drink coffee for a hangover, I'll send you a free bag of coffee.
Yeah, Lucy's Brew. I had some this morning.
It's good.
Delicious.
I found that does not help my hangover at all. I mean, it doesn't help the hangover. It just makes it worse.
No, the caffeine doesn't help. It does help for some people, though.
Apparently, not me.
Has anyone ever noticed that Jake only plays OAR songs when he's on here?
This one's kind of like a version of Steer It Up by Bob Marley. So this is the part of the podcast where Megan usually tells us where you can find The Alternative Daily.
Well, you can find us at www.thealternativedaily.com.
By the way, nobody says www
Okay,
anymore.
fine. It's just thealternativedaily.com. Look for us on Facebook, on Instagram, and on Pinterest.
Have you been practicing this in front of a mirror?
I haven't. I just I'm a big fan. What can I say?
Well,
and Megan, thank you. I'm very honored to share your seat here. I don't think I did as good a job as you did, and I'm sure the audience will probably agree with that. But thanks for the opportunity.
Awesome. Well, guys, thank you very much. Remember, email us at podcast@thealternativedaily.com.
Baba booey.
To get email us at podcast@thealternativedaily.com. Subject line poop to enter to win one of the 5 Squatty Potties that we're going to be giving away. And that's going to do it for us.
Thanks, Jake. I appreciate it.
Oh, here's the part where I play us out.
Let's go.
Steer it up. Ooh, darling. Steer it up. This is where we take bong hits.
My day would be over.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.